What's up everyone, Vu of Vu Films, and I am back with another idiotic video for you to watch. And today I'll be talking about the Sigma 2470 f2.8 DG DN. DN stands for D's nuts lens again, because mainly, hey look, like there's only videos you guys watch of mine are about the Sigma 2470. Everything else gets like 3 views, so hey, I'll give you what you want. Right? But real talk, why am I going to talk about this lens again? And all I got to say is it's one of the main reasons why I still love using my Sony a7 III and any full frame type of equivalent sensor size type camera, because of the 2470 focal length. And not only that, is because of the price, which is about $1,100 for such a versatile lens, which APS-C does not deliver. Which is also why I'd like to let you know that the FUJI X-t4 that I recently purchased pre-owned, I returned it because due to this whole COVID stuff, I'm not going to have any gigs for the next couple months. And by that time, the FUJI X-t4 that I have on pre-order will be at my door. So, hey, look, like that's what I wanted to switch to Fuji for video use, not everything else. I'm still keeping all my Sony stuff. I have my two a7 III, a7R R3 there, a7 III here, Alpha 6600 being used right here, and all of my lenses here. So no, I'm not switching, but I am using the Fuji system for video work. And you know, I did use the Fuji Film X-t3 APS-C, as you know, crop sensor, for some photography use, you know, just for fun, taking photos of my daughter and stuff. And yes, it is great, but it made me appreciate just how great the Sony system is. You know, whether you're using the a6600 or a7 III for photography, this camera is just unmatched in terms of just how fast it focuses, the dynamic range, the image quality, you know, handling, ergonomics. I know a lot of people don't like the ergonomics, but I really like the ergonomics of the a7 III versus the Fuji. Just everything about it, you know, like once you have everything set up the way you like, once you're used to it, it's just like the easiest thing. Like I could take photos. The autofocus is so great. I could literally take photos without looking. Like I could look this way, look that way. I mean, it's like you could shoot blind and images being focused. And even at low light situations, I could be at ISO 5000, ISO 6400, making sure the shutter speed is, you know, 1/250, especially if I'm taking photos of my daughter while she's running, and you know, I'm getting, the light is going away, especially like after sunset and stuff, and still be able to get clean, crisp, in focus photos without flash. It's just an amazing machine, as Lance would say from Fast and Furious. So, yeah, I mean, you know, I know there's probably many Sony shooters out there, video shooters, photography shooters, looking at other options. And as a photographer, if you're already on the Sony system, don't switch. I mean, there is no reason, I think, as a photographer, you should switch over to something else if you're already on Sony. It's just a beast of a system for photography. It's just amazing, okay? And I think the colors are great, even comparing it to the Fuji colors. Like, I think they both have great colors. You can do whatever you want with the colors in RAW. So if you can't, there's something wrong with you. You need to take color correction, color grading, color editing courses before you start switching systems. Okay, 1. And now if you're a videographer, primarily that's different. That's, you know, if you want 4K 60, you want 10-bit. Sony doesn't offer that. So there is a reason why you would want to switch to a different system. I can't wholeheartedly switch over completely to Fuji because I still prefer using the Sony for just most situations, you know, picking up, going outside, taking quick photos, taking quick videos. The Sony just does a job. Yeah, it's missing the 4K 60, but the 4K 24 is very crisp. And, you know, so long as you expose correctly, you don't have to worry about like the actual bit depth of color. As long as everything's exposed correctly and you know what you're doing, you'll get very nice results out of your Sony camera for video. Needless to say, I still have all the Fuji stuff here. And the reason why I want to bring up this 2470 DG DN D's nuts lens in this video is because right now, if you're switching over to like an APS-C system, FUJI X-t3, FUJI X-t4, for example, because, you know, obviously if you're a video shooter, you have to be aware that there's nothing that really matches a true 24-70 f2.8 lens on a full frame system. That there's nothing available for the APS-C sensors. The closest thing you could probably get is a 16 to 55 f2.8. One, those lenses are like really expensive. They're $1,400. This lens again is only $1,100 and it's full frame, more glass. And 1655 at 2.8, yes, it matches the focal length or field of view, what you're getting out of a 24-70, which is roughly 16 to 55 is, I believe, like 24 to 75 or something like that. But you do get the same light with the f2.8, but you don't get the same depth of field once you match the composition of your photo. So at, let's say 16 millimeter, yes, the field of view would look like a 24 millimeter on a full frame camera compositionally if you're staying at the same exact spot, but the bokeh, the depth of field, is not the same. You get more bokeh with the 24 millimeter f2.8 full frame compared to a 16 millimeter f2.8 on APS-C because essentially lens compression. Okay, so there's that. The closest thing that you can get in terms of bokeh and all that stuff is probably the Sigma 18 to 35 f1.8 lens, but even that 18 is not 24 millimeters and 35 is only like about 50 millimeters, so you're not getting to 70 millimeters, and you have to buy an adapter, which costs additional money. It is cheaper. You get it for $500 to $600 plus the adapter. It's like $800 or so, but you're not getting the same range. And for me to even like match on a APS-C system such as the FUJI X-t4 in terms of autofocus capability and focal range and all that stuff, it takes 4 lenses. Here I have a 50 millimeter f2, a 35 millimeter f2, and a 23 millimeter f2, along with a 16 millimeter f1.4 to just match the same abilities as this one lens here for $1,100. And the 16 millimeter f1.4 doesn't even focus nearly as good as this. These come close, but it's still not as good focusing as this lens and this camera combination. So look, you could literally walk around and film and take pictures, zoom in and out with just this one setup, or you got to bring all of this to try to match that exact same look as what this delivers. Which is why the Sony a7III is still a beast. As long as you know, one, what you are doing, exposure, composition, whatever, you don't need to worry about the extra bit depth. The only reason why I'm still keeping this is because I really want that 4K 60 when I'm doing wedding work, and I want that really nice crisp slow motion. Okay, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't even consider it. Time will tell if Sony is going to come out with a 4K 60 capable full frame camera or even APS-C camera. Whatever it is, all I gotta say is this lens is amazing, and it's part of why the Sony system is still a great system. Because even if you switch over to, I don't know, Canon ESR 5, ESR 6, any of these newer cameras coming out, 1DX Mark III, the camera body is gonna be far more expensive. That's one. And if you want to shoot like 8K, 4K 60, or RAW, whatever you want to shoot, you have to really think about, do you need all this extra data? Do you really need all this extra resolution for what you're trying to do? Because you're going to have to pay more, that's one. Not only for the camera and the lens and all that stuff, but for the file sizes, you're going to have to pay for storage space, SSDs to be fast enough to store and render and edit those things. SSDs aren't cheap. And you're going to need a faster computer. You're going to need to invest more money into a computer. Whereas if you get 95% of the way there in terms of image quality with 8-bit Sony, Okay, you could buy these things new now. The a7III for $1,500. This lens is $1,100. $2,500 to $2,600 combination, and you could get 95% of the way there compared to 10-bit RAW, what have you, if you know what you're doing. Obviously, like I said, exposure and how you're shooting and all that jazz. And it doesn't take up much file space. 4K on Sony is 100 megabit per second. Great dynamic range, better than anything Canon produces around that range. Their 1080 at 90 megabits per second is super soft. Dynamic range sucks. Everyone likes to say the color is awesome. Hey, that's your opinion. The colors looks like anything else to me. So that is that. The only thing that is complaining to a lot of people that doesn't make this a really versatile camera is the fact that you can't do the flip screen and all that stuff, which I understand. That's why I'm using the Alpha 600 for YouTube stuff, because it does have flip screen. It's quick. It has fast autofocusing. I can rely on it. But honestly, 95% of the time, this is all I'm doing. The only time I really need a flip screen is for stuff like this, which I do in studio. So, this is really a luxury for me. I don't really vlog and all that stuff. But yeah. So if you're on Sony a7III, a7R3, a7R4, any Sony full frame body or even crop sensor, if you need to get one lens, I'm telling you this time and time again, this is the one lens you should get. 2470 DG-DN. And I know there's a Tamron 2875, and I've talked about this before. It's a great lens too, but I would just spend the extra $300 and just get this lens, because you could always get closer. So you don't have the 75 millimeter, but you have 70. You'd always get closer, but you cannot step back when there's not enough space between you and the subject. So 24 millimeter, when you're doing just really wide angle stuff, landscape stuff, it's so much better than the 28. So, yeah, and according to test, sharpness and all that stuff, this thing pretty much beats the Tamron, and it's on par with the Sony 2470 GM. Even better, especially more telephoto range, 24 millimeter. The GM still performs better, but you're talking about very slightly. And this lens is such a beast. And yes, it is big, but especially me, I put like a little extra grip here, and this grip really helps me handle this whole package. So this right now, guys, is still my favorite combination to just put in my backpack, bring on running gun situations. Once the FUJI X-t4 gets in my hand, I do a whole test and see how it goes and all that stuff. Gosh, man, the only downside, Sony, is 4K 60. And hopefully once all this COVID stuff blows over, I don't need 8K. I don't need 6K. I just want 4K 60. That's all I need is 4K 60, 10-bit. Just give me some extra data to work with, and we're good to go, guys, because this thing just works. This thing is magic, okay? My daughter's running around. You see all the photos I've been just posting throughout this video. It's just incredible, all right? Yeah, so till next time, guys, I hope this video help you make a purchase decision if you're still wondering what to do with your life, with what camera to buy, or if you already have this camera, what lens you should get. 2470 DG-DN These Nuts lens. Link in the description below. Till next time, guys, lighten up.